Okay, good morning. I'm Denise Gable, and we've got our other Can-Do-Ologist, Isabella Meadows. And today's topic, this is the Can-Do Meetup for June. The topic, does my butt look big? How to avoid asking awkward questions. So the first question is, you need to ask it's not the first question, but the first why is because you need to ask intelligent questions. Why? Because the quality of your life directly impacts, it's a reflection of the questions that you ask. Better questions you ask, the better information you're going to have and the better results that you will get. Many of us have learned this firsthand. So let's keep going. Let's dissect the question of the month. Does my butt look big? Why isn't it a good question? This is group participation. Come off mute or put it in the chat. What could be a better question than does my butt look big? You can't win. So why do we ask those type of questions? What's a better question? What do you think we wanted to know if we should have asked, does my butt look big? What do you think we really wanted to know? Is this outfit appropriate for the picnic? I mean, you're really asking that you need some information. What else would be a better question? Okay. But the point is, let's move on. That's probably not the best question to ask because you're really being a little bit self-conscious there. And perhaps you can answer those questions all on your own, that you don't need to ask someone else. It's hard to break a habit. That's why we want to talk about habits next month. It's just a habit. And maybe you weren't actually looking for an answer out loud. Are you generally looking for a solid answer? Lack of self-confidence. You could have asked yourself, how do you feel in this outfit? Well, I'm questioning it. Good. Well, then go change. You can answer that all on your own. Yes. Don't I look gorgeous?
Always ask a question you know the
Borderline's
answer
another
to.
lose-lose, doesn't it? What if the person goes, well, not so much, really? This question is very much driven from self. And those questions we can ask ourselves and maybe get some counseling. But these questions that really advance our lives and enrich our lives are the ones that we're about to explore. And we're suggesting if that is your intention, you can get that from asking yourself more deeply because you know the answer. We don't need as much outside voice as sometimes we invite. We have some of these answers. We know. Good. So then what makes a powerful question? We're going to break into some small groups here real quick and go over 3 questions. What makes a question powerful? And what makes a question not powerful in your mind? We want to share your expertise. When was the time you asked a really great question or witnessed someone else ask one? What was the effect of that question? What's challenging about asking questions? Why don't people ask great questions? So Isabella just popped those 3 questions into the chat. We're going to break into some small groups for minutes because we have 30 minutes total. So we're going to break into some small groups and kind of find the answers to those 3 questions. Ready, set? Those questions again are in the chat for you. Share your expertise with each other. You just got an invite to join a room. Hit accept and we'll see you back here in just a couple of minutes.
That's a perfect segue to what we're going to be talking about how to ask intelligent questions. So the first thing is to start with your state. Like you were saying, Ron, what kind of state are you in? And we're going to talk about that in a second. And then it's going to be, what is your purpose you're trying to achieve here? What is it that you really want? What are you looking to get from this question? And then we're going to talk about your focus. Where does your focus go when you're asking these questions? And we're going to give you some question starters and frameworks you can use to ask really intelligent questions to guide that focus. So starting with your state, the importance of the state that you put yourself into. where a lot of people get stuck when it comes to asking intelligent questions is their focus is on, oh my goodness, I feel so nervous. What is this person thinking of me? Am I going to say the right thing? What are they going to say back to me? And then we start to focus on almost what we don't want instead of what we do. So if you can put yourself in a state of curiosity, the questions are going to flow easily and effortlessly when you're curious versus when you're anxious or frustrated or stressed, like you were saying, Ron. So putting yourself in a state of curiosity. And how do you do that? How do you put yourself in a state of curiosity? Remember back to a previous time that you felt curious. Take yourself back to that. And remember that. And you can close your eyes. This is a quick little visualization you can do with yourself to go back to a specific memory in time that you felt super curious. You were fascinated by something. You wanted to understand, why does this work the way it does? How does it work the way it does? And you really dove in. Go back to that time. And then as you go back to that time, really feel what you felt and see what you saw and hear what you heard, and you'll put yourself back into that state of curiosity, and your whole physiology will change as you feel and anchor in that curiosity. And then your questions will flow from that place of curiosity. So that's step one, is to get into that curiosity mode. Put on the hat of curiosity. And if you're not feeling curiosity one day when you wake up, put on a hat or think about someone you know who's really curious, and how do they say what they do? How do they show up, and model that from them? So step one, start there with curiosity. Number two, for asking really intelligent questions, is to think about, what is your purpose? What are you really trying to achieve here? What is your end goal, your outcome? This is another step where when people say, oh, I don't know what questions to ask, I get nervous asking questions, I never know what to say. It's a lot of times it's because we don't know exactly what it is we're trying to achieve. See, when you know what it is, the outcome you're going for, you'll naturally start to reverse engineer from that point and go, okay, what are the gaps between where I am and the outcome that we're trying to achieve? What more information do we need to know? See, when you have an aim in mind, it becomes a lot easier to ask the questions. You won't even have to think too hard about it. They'll just come easily and effortlessly to you. So start with curiosity, and then ask yourself, what are you trying to achieve here? And what information are you lacking? What information do you need to uncover to get yourself, your team, to that point, to that end goal? Once you have that purpose, then the next step is to think about, where is your focus going as you're asking these questions? So here's some question starters for you. You can take a picture. And basically, these are the do's. These are how you, suggestions for how to start questions that are going to uncover for you relevant information. So first one, starting your question with how. How questions will give the process and the structure. By asking how, you're eliciting someone's strategy for how is it possible that they do this thing? How do they do this thing? You're eliciting the order and the sequence of steps involved. So you're uncovering the process. So that's really powerful for understanding context. Where questions maybe aren't as useful or helpful is when we get into, for example, if we have a problem we're trying to solve and we get into the details of what and why, and we go into the muck, and we get into the content. That's not going to help us to solve the problem as much as if we take a higher bird's eye look at the structure and the process of how is this problem being created. So that's the first one. Asking when, that will give you context. When do you do this? When don't you do this? And that will give you context. So that's a context question. What if? That's a really great question you can ask to shift thinking. When someone is stuck, or your team is stuck, what if we were to try this? What if this happened? What if this didn't happen? Now you're getting them to start thinking outside the boundaries of the problem, of the box that we're in, and start seeing the solution. What could be outside of what we're currently seeing? So that opens up some more creative type thinking. And the fourth question, why? Now, why? Use this question intentionally, because sometimes if you ask people, like, why did you do that? they're going to give you reasons and excuses. Oh, my dog made me late, or my kids were running late and then I was late. There's a lot of traffic on the road. Why were you late? Well, it places a lot of blame. So know when you're asking why. Why can also give us, though, someone's values. Why is this important to you? And they'll tell you why something's important to them. So that's what why uncovers. And then for what purpose gives us higher intent. For what purpose are you doing this? For what purpose do you need this? And that you can start to get someone's objective, the higher, bigger picture. And the last question, how specifically? How specifically recovers details that have been lost? So if someone's leaving out a lot of information that would be really important, asking them, how specifically do you know this? What specifically? Whom specifically? And this will help to recover detail if that is important and missing in context. So those are some great, powerful question starters just to get you thinking differently about how you're structuring your questions and how you're asking your questions to gain and obtain more intelligent information to better inform your goals, your outcomes, the decisions you make. And last point is, where is your focus going? Are you asking questions more along the lines of, oh, why does this always happen to me? Versus, what can I learn from this to shift my result next time? The quality of your question you're asking is going to be the quality of the information you get back to you. So if you're getting a lot of things that you don't want to have happening, take a look at the kinds of questions you're asking. What kinds of questions you're asking is going to give you the results that you're getting.
And remember two things as we make the turn into the 30-minute close already. And for those of you that want to stay on after, please do. Remember that context matters. If you're in a meeting and they're talking about the strategic plan 2 years out and you're saying, I have a question about what that means for tomorrow, that could go on deaf ears. You've misjudged the timeline of where you had the opportunity to ask the question. Second point, Ron brought it up earlier. Really good to be thinking that it's us and we. You need to gain some information, but you're also concerned if there's two people talking or more, you're interested in more of what's a win-win for you and the team. So with those two things in mind, we want to remind you, July's around the corner. The July meetup is Monday, of course, July 7th, 7:30 a.m. Pacific time. And the topic is breaking bad habits. Just in case you have a bad habit or know someone who might. So that's our topic for July. Isabella popped the link in there to register for the July meeting. And that concludes June. Start asking some better questions. And thank you so much for being here. And for those of you that want to stay on, you're more than welcome.